Slide deck. This is the simplest slide deck I've ever created. It's simply links to these tools because I think that um, the best thing to do with these is for me to show you a little bit and then give you a little time to play. Especially the technical pieces of this are not too challenging. I feel like it's more fun. Well, I should backtrack that. A couple of these tools are easy to use. A couple of them are an investment, but I think it's worth it. So I've kind of gone from My Maps and Google Earth Web as two tools that are really straightforward for kids to use and work really well on Chromebooks and things that you could use as from a teaching standpoint. We'll spend most of our time on that. I would like to show you a little bit of, I'm actually going to redo this order because I think one of the coolest things that's out there is the museums and culture stuff. Oh, it does this to me. All right, never mind. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave the order. I'm not going to play your game, Google. I'm going to leave it, but I'm going to skip those two. And then I'm going to show you a little bit of the Google Earth Pro, and we'll just spend like 30 seconds on the engine because that's just a cool thing I wanted to show you that might be useful. The backdrop of this is when I started working with Juliet over at Raleigh Hills, 2010 was my first year there, working K through 8. I started getting really into these tech tools, and I actually got to go to some Google workshops. And as part of that journey, I came across a lot. I started reading some brain research, and we don't know very much about the brain, but what we do know is that it thinks in pictures. And I think Google Earth tools are remarkable for connecting kids to real places and real events and real phenomena that are pretty abstract. So I want to show you how the tools work a little bit and then give you some think time to maybe put together, and maybe even we can have a little bit of talking time about how you could use these tools. So the first is I'm going to click. I'm going to click on My Maps, and I'll show you exactly. I use My Maps all the time. I actually use My Maps, excuse me, from another Google account. I'm going to show you that one because it's more interesting than this one. If you ever are wondering about this, up in the upper right-hand corner, you can open a what's called an incognito window. And so that allows me to open, I've got incognito, and I can go and log into my personal Google account. You can toggle back and forth. What? Wait a minute, what? Find my email. No, there we go. Yes. Okay, phew. Well, I happen to know it, so there. You can be in multiple email accounts on Google, but I find it to be frustrating because some of the apps won't switch and they'll accidentally throw you back into the school one when you're trying to be in the personal one, and I just get tired of fighting it. So I like to use incognito windows if I have to do a second one. And this one I happen to have created on my personal account. And this could be something that would be useful for you. So My Map is a tool that's map based, but allows you to put pins in the map wherever you want. And then on those pins, you can put information like what did you do there and what happened, and put a picture and put a link. So this happens to be a map of future bus visits over the past 4 years. So I can actually type in, because I remember that we were here, Cooper Mountain. We were here in 2019 for an awesome day with the rock stars. And we were there in 2017 with Scratch. So this is just a tool that where kids can pretty quickly find a place on the map go to the place. There it is. And then they can add to it and they can edit it. And then they can upload pictures to it if they wanted to. This could be a useful tool for a kid to tell a story about a journey, places of interest. If you're looking for particular geographic things that you're studying, it's easy to track them down. And then the students have a couple options here. They have a few tools they can use. One of them is, let's say I'm studying something having to do with distance. I can look at Cannon Beach and I can say, I wonder how far it is from Cannon Beach to Portland. Well, it's about 60 miles as the crow flies. So you've got a little bit of measurement that you can do in there. You can also do it not as the crow flies, and you can tease that out. Looking at the river, how far does the Columbia travel? So I'm just clicking and making a tab here, and it's showing me the distance. I can also overlay shapes if that's helpful to me. If I'm trying to infer relationships between different places, and feel free to play with this while I'm showing you a couple of these. But we use My Maps a lot. For the one that popped up earlier was for the library book bus sites. Right now, this is a way for me to organize this information. So teach kids at different schools know when the bus is coming. So I can look at Cooper Mountain again, and I can see that the first stop is Southwest 171st at 1:36 on Thursday. So it's a way for me to just kind of organize that information. It's not particularly visually amazing. I mean, it's cool, but it's really easy to make stuff. It's really easy for kids to just type a place in, have it pop up, and then you can figure stuff out from there. I remember working, Nancy, I think it was in your class, was it Curtis? Uh, uh, who was just in love with buses, and I'm trying to remember if that was the one.
That's
And a
it.
couple of,
Good memory.
yeah, and a couple of the kids had like every stop figured out for TriMet. I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, if I'd had this tool, he would have gone crazy. Like, dude, map out, what's the red line? What time does the red line hit the thing? And he would have just been on this tool. So that's My Maps. That's what it does. You've probably seen a version of it, when you do searches for things and pins pop up in a map. Similar to other Google tools, you can share the link for this and give it out. And it organizes things in what are called layers. So for instance, back on that one that I did with the Future Bus visits, I can just look at what did we do in a particular year. So I can unclick these layers. I have these organized by calendar year. If I just want to look like what we've done so far this year, that's what I'm seeing on the right. I've clicked that layer. If I want to add last year, it shows me that, and so on. That sort of makes sense what that tool is and what it does. Cool. I've seen students use this to look at different distances, measure things on a map. I mean, it's not just our area, obviously, right? It's the whole world. So we could be doing the same exact thing we're doing here in any number of countries. So, and then across the top here, you've got, you can drop pins, and you can see here I've customized some of the pins based on what they are. You can use little symbols. So I always thought it would be fun to do something like this when you're doing reading a book about a journey, and having kids pin every place on that journey. It also gives you, if you're looking for Cooper Mountain here, it also gives you latitude and longitude lines. If that's something that's also part of the equation. So that's My Maps. Feel free to play with that. And I'd really love to hear maybe some thoughts about what, like, does a project come to mind that you could use that tool, or could you see a kid doing a thing with that? I think, Nancy, didn't we do something like kids drew a map of how they get to school or something like that?
I don't remember doing that.
Yeah, maybe it was not that class, but it was like something about how, what they do in the morning, where they get the bus, where they go. I mean, you could actually do that on here. So,
One
okay,
of
cool.
oh, sorry.
No, please,
Oh,
please.
I was just gonna say that one of the units in fourth grade for math with Fosno is the skateboard lane, and we do a lot of like mapping and talking about like it's all about trying to figure out the angles, like a 360. If you turn 360 degrees on this street, like what street are you gonna end up on?
Mhm.
So I was thinking I could use it for that.
Yeah, that'd be really fun. I love that. It's a great idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and just like, this is a very informal training because it's really different for different, uh, you know, grade levels and all that kind of stuff. And I just want you to feel like you can play and explore. This next tool I think is, um, might be the one that's the most useful to you. Google Earth has been a downloaded program in Google for a very long time. And it is just pretty recently, last few years, become a web-based, there's a web-based version too that works well on Chromebooks. And they just have more recently added a bunch of new features that are very cool that I think make it even more powerful. So the first thing it is a really beautiful three-dimensional map of the Earth. I mean, it's just gorgeous. The data that they have, the high altitude satellite imagery that they have, it just gives so much perspective to places that I mean, if I ever taught like a humanities class or something like that, I think I would just have a full wall that was on a short throw projector with just this tool every day. And every day we would go somewhere and explore it. I mean, maybe I would do that no matter what grade I taught, because I think you can create interest out of all that. Google has a lot of emerging 3D capacity. So if I click down here on 3D and 2D, this gives me my 2D, this overhead map. But if I go into 3D mode and I start getting into places, it has, I don't know if you can quite see it, but you can really feel like you're in a three-dimensional environment. I mean, this is an incredible improvement on looking at one little black and white picture in a textbook that I had when I was studying geography. So just for this alone, I think it's a really beautiful tool to use with kids. It connects them physically or visually to places. I also think that there are other tools here. So I can, same way I could on the other tool, I can just search anywhere, right? And it's gonna fly me over there. And I could go and explore New Orleans if I so chose. So you can search and go pretty much anywhere in the world. There isn't 3D topography mapping of everything, but there is a lot, and you can get a lot of it done there. So it's basically just a really beautiful, immersive atlas that that you can have access to. Kids can have access to. It works well on the Chromebooks. Yeah, you can see it populating the three-dimensional stuff now. I mean, we've become so accustomed to stuff like this, right? I mean, this stuff is just still, I'm so amazed. I mean, I'm literally like going through a 3D realized journey through New Orleans. It's just, it blows my mind. Kim, did you have a question? Oh, sorry, I can't hear you.
Kimberly. Hi.
Sorry.
I'm
Kimberly.
really surprised because my husband is from Iran, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to do a quick look to see if I could actually see Tehran. And I
Yeah.
can actually see his parents' house on this, which really
Yep.
surprises me because they're not the most open society.
Yep. For good or for bad, Google's figured out how to get information from everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
I wonder
actually a
what
very
North Korea looks like.
there's a very funny story. It's a true story. The very first time I ever showed my mom Google Earth, we went to an antique mall where she had a booth down at the coast, and we found her. She was getting out of her car. It was the Google Earth Street View picture was of her getting out of her car from behind. So that was kind of a mind-blowing moment for my mom. Okay, so as if that weren't cool enough, but wait, there's more. So what's newer about this tool is on the left side, you have projects. And so I made one before today. And this is what was in another Google tool called Tour Builder, if you ever knew about that tool. But they're phasing Tour Builder out, and they've basically built Tour Builder's functions into here. So I'll show you what that is. So a project is where I can go and find places on a map and tell a story with it. So if I'm going to present this one, I'm going to start at FutureBus HQ. So this starts us at a place. I can write a little thing there, and I can put a picture there. And then I drew a line of the road that I took to get here. And then I put another pin down at Cooper Mountain Elementary School, where I could then put another picture up and write copy. But you could use this, you could have multiple pins, you can have multiple pictures, you could have a lot more writing than I just did there. I just slapped this together in a few minutes. Lewis and Clark expedition, we could hit 20 different places they hit on the map, and kids can populate each one of these slides. How it looks here is I've got 3 basically slides. I got my starting one. I just uploaded a picture and wrote a little description. And then I just drew a path just for fun because I thought it would be kind of fun to see what it looked like. And then I put another pin and another description right there. And then this has Street View built into it, which if you've used Google Maps before, you've probably used this. Over here on the right, I can pull that little person out, and anywhere that highlights blue, they have a car that's driven there and taken a picture. So I can just drop myself into Street View, and it's going to take me down and into the high resolution road photography. Which again, we're just like, oh, that's cool. Like, how ridiculous is that amount of information they're crunching, and we can just go down on the street, So that is just sort of a quick and dirty version of what some of the capacities are of Google Earth. This is the web version, so this does work on Chromebooks. This also has the measuring capacity. You can change the units of measurement here if you want to. Smoots, that is an actual measurement. So if I wanted to look in, it's automatically gauging miles, but if I wanted to see maybe how far I traveled, I could do that. Let's see if I can figure out how to do that. I know it's possible. There we go. So I'm just clicking along the path here. It's about 7,000 meters, according to Google, to get from FutureBus HQ to Cooper Mountain. So anyway, I hope you're playing with this right now on your own. Just if you just go to there and you log in with your Google account and you save your projects if you want that. And there you go. Any questions? Any ideas? They have some Really cool. I'm just using one here. Projects that, oh, hi, Kimberly, sorry. That are kind of examples of what
Nancy.
you can, what you can do with it. Here's one that someone's done to El Capitan to give you an idea. You can actually take the camera in wherever you want and take pictures at that angle. So this person's done, this is some pretty highfalutin work they've done here, but you can move the camera around and take pictures at any point you want. This is a pretty specific use case, but yeah, sorry, go ahead, Kimberly. I got lost there in the weeds.
Oh, it's okay. I think I actually figured out the answer.
Okay,
So
that's what I
to save
usually
it on
do.
Seesaw,
Mm-hmm,
if I had a project
mm-hmm,
created and then you just
Mhm.
put the link, copy the link, and then you can insert it. Because I don't think kindergartners are going to be able to really navigate this, but we could share a virtual field trip in this way. We could create a one specifically. So you just like share it as a link
Yep,
and it'll go
Is it-
to your project.
yep,
Okay,
yep. So I'm gonna
this
go
is
to,
cool.
yeah, it's very cool. So Future Bus Trip to Cooper Mountain. Yep, and I just would give you the link. Let's try it. I actually haven't shared out one of those in a while. I'm gonna put it in the chat, see if you can get there. I'm willing to fail. Yep, cool. Were you guys able to see that? Any questions? Yes, Nancy.
Okay.
Go for it.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Can you show again how you did the get to see the buildings in New Orleans? I tried to do that and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, so basically that feature is wherever. So I'm just gonna go to Portland. I'm gonna move my map over here to Portland. And if you click down here where it says 3D,
Mhm.
it's gonna tilt the angle of the camera. So now you can actually see that 3D feature. So it's down here in the right-hand corner. That tilts you from a 2D overhead map. And you can still see that there's some 3D element. You can kind of, it's probably hard for you to see on Zoom, but I can still tell that there's dimension even though I'm there. Do you see that 3D button, Nancy, down the lower right?
Yeah, but how did you get it to tilt? Oh, it says tilt the view.
Yeah, and you can also do that if you just, oops, I'm way zoomed in now. Hold on. How do I get myself out of here? There we go. Phew. So if you hold down the command key and click, you can tilt the view all the
Oh.
way down to the horizon. Does that make sense?
Yep.
2 fingers on the trackpad zooms in and out. We can go visit the mountain. And then I'm holding the command key down to tilt it. I mean, that's just spectacular.
Thank you.
You betcha. Any other questions about Google Earth web version? That's probably your most powerful tool and works so well with Chromebooks. I think that's a winner. Yeah, go ahead, Ann.
I just think this is magical. I really
I
do.
agree.
If I was ever gonna get lost in Google, it would be on their maps. I think it's just phenomenal. And what a cool way to bring in, we're talking so much about cultural diversity, and what a cool way for kids to be able to share their family history of parents or grandparents or whatever. It's just a remarkable way that somebody could take you to visit where they used to live in Dallas, or go take you to Vietnam and see what city their grandparents live in. I just think it's a phenomenal tool, and I just think it's magical. I really do.
I agree with you 100%. I felt so strongly when I learned about this. I met some folks who at the time were really revolutionary. I met the guy who created this. This is called Google Lit Trips, which I haven't been here in a while, but the idea was amazing. Where, like, here's an example of, you know, stories of, you know, Selma, Alabama. They take books where there's a journey, and I'm just clicking on K5 to see what we've got. I haven't been here in a while, so if this is not, if this doesn't work, I'm sorry. But they take these books and they create literary trips using Google Earth. And it's just really a cool idea. You've got a kit, you've got a story, you've got a journey, you've got physical places that they visit along the way. And at each one of those places, you can stop and write a thing. This used to be really hard to do because Google Earth, the download version, is very wonky to use. But this new interface is just so elegant and it's so simple. And I think most kids can really get their head around it pretty quickly. Thank you though, Anne. I feel the same way. I think you could teach almost any subject through Google Earth. There's a whole, I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it was called Real World Math, something. Yeah, there it is, Real World Math. And this person basically just uses Google Earth to teach math. Here's a measurement lesson that they use, you know, studying crop circles and estimating distances and looking at circumference. And here's a complex area grid. So just the creativity around using a tool like this is amazing. And if you love this, Anne, you're going to love what I'm going to do next even more. So this is a little bit of, I just want to show you where you can go with this really quickly. This is the downloaded version of Google Earth, and it's the same beautiful high resolution imagery. It's actually a little bit better resolution imagery because it's using the machine power to crunch all that stuff, all that data that's coming from all those maps. But there's some features that Google Earth, the download version, has that are astounding to me. And I don't know if this is useful to you, but I wanted to just dip your toe in the water a little bit of it. So same idea, beautiful atlas. I'm down here. This is downtown Portland. I'm able to see this. But Google's angle of attack is their mantra, their mission is to make the world's information more utilizable and accessible. So what they do is where the web version of Maps kind of stops, which is being able to go around and see things. This picks up. So for instance, we could go to Portland here and we could overlay other data like borders and labels. If I zoom out, the borders will show up a little bit better. Now I can see sort of man-made borders and labels. It's overlaying that data set on that. I can click the weather button, and in a moment, it takes a minute because it's a lot of data to crunch. It will give me a pretty real-time overlay of the weather. It'll take a second because it's a lot of data to crunch. There are roads. I can click on the roads button and it will show me all the roads. So it's a way that it overlays a lot of this information that might be useful to you. Weather's taking a little while to show up. I can see, if I click up here, the timeline button, I can see Portland historical imagery. Let's pick a spot. How about, oh, good. Now we got the cloud layer on that picture. Let's take a look at, I'm going to turn the weather off because I don't want to see those clouds. I'm going to look at, let's see, here's a chunk of downtown Portland. And if I go up to my timeline here, I can see I actually have aerial photography of this area all the way back to 1952. So I can go back in time and see, I'm going to unlabel some of these things because they slow the machine down a little bit. There's a picture of that same spot from 1952. Here's one from 1970. It's not very helpful particularly, but they get better. 1990, 2003, 2011, 2012. So, and if we zoomed in, you would actually be able to see how this part of the city, this is down by the fields. There's 2012, 2013, they built the fields. 2014, condos are blowing up. And then we go to present day and this whole area has been transformed with condos. So the idea that you don't just have a map, but you have a map that goes back 75 years from that aerial photography. There are places where you can really see some dramatic transformations of how humans have been interacting with their environment over time, how climate has affected certain parts of the world, that kind of stuff. So it's just a really beefy, full of tons of data way to explore that kind of stuff. You have the ability to do what are called paths. So I made one, I did one called the Columbia River Exploration, which I'm just gonna play it right now. So I drew a line from Portland to the coast. And what we can do is we can actually animate that journey. So you can actually get down and see. I'm gonna put the 3D buildings back on. So I can actually journey through and see that journey. And I can look as I'm doing it anywhere that I want to go. So this could be a really cool thing. It's not realistic for every kid to have a PC that they can download or a Mac that they can download this and use it, but you could drive the bus as the teacher, take them on a journey and get them to explore some of that. Anyway, I just think it's remarkable. If that's not enough, you can always decide that you want to, sorry, I'm gonna get out of this path. My little button's not working. What's going on here?
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead. I'm having a little technical difficulty here. There we go. I'm going to back out just a little bit here so we can kind of see a couple other things. There we go. Any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that? You're welcome to just say them. There it is. It wasn't working there for a minute. So I can see what the light looks like on the Earth at various times of the day. I can zoom out even more to get more bearing on how that works. I mean, just remarkable way to explore this information. We talk about an abstract idea that's just made so much more clear with a good visual, If that's not enough, you can explore. I'm not sure why I'm stuck here. I can't get it to work right now, but you can explore the moon and Mars in the same way. So if Earth's just not enough, Earth, sky, and other planets. It's not working for me for some reason right now. I'm not sure. Anyway, Google Earth, downloaded version. If you're interested in that, it's crazy cool. Two more quick ones. I know we're running out of time here. This is really nerdy. I'm going to take 30 seconds with this, but this is something that I think could be really interesting. This is super, super deep water, what people are doing with this imagery. But this is called Google Earth Engine. And they have a bunch of public data archives where you can explore these data sets. Things like climate, surface temperature. So they take what's called metadata, and these are sensors and satellite photos. There's some great over time, like ice caps melting kind of stuff on here. Just ways to think about information, how humans interact with the planet, that are just so visually interesting, and I think can convey things that are hard to understand, especially I think, as an example, I wonder if I can find it really quick. There's one about an ice cap. So these are like methane release, blah, blah, blah. But there's one that's an aerial photography of showing glaciers melting over the period of like 25 years. Just things that are hard to understand unless you have that kind of perspective. Anyway, Google Earth Engine, that's really deep water. You won't be able to make anything in there, but it sure is visually interesting. And if you happen to be studying something like there. I want to close on one of my next favorite things, which you may not know about, is Google hasn't just been mapping places on the earth. They've also been mapping museums. So on that collection, on that thing that I just clicked, we can go and we can visit. I've never been to many of these. But if I click on a museum, it's going to take me to that museum. And there's often, this could be a really lame museum, I don't know. There's often super high resolution photography of the artwork, which is stunning. That doesn't look high resolution because I'm not actually in the actual picture, but if I click on it, it's going to take me to a really high res. I mean, you can really get into the detail of how these things are made. But my favorite thing on this was to find a museum, and over here on the right, if they have the little street view person, you can go to the museum as if you're there. So I use this tool a lot with the kids at Raleigh Hills, and we went to the Louvre and we went to Washington, D.C., the art gallery in the basement of the White House. And the photography is good enough that you can actually, I mean, you can read what's going on. I mean, it's just incredible to me. So this is great for creating like a scavenger hunt kind of a thing where kids can go into a museum. If you're studying a particular time period, I think that a lot of stuff didn't make sense to me as a student until I saw the art of the period and the architecture of the period. They all seemed very abstract to me. So anything that can anchor these sort of historical concepts in some sort of visual, I just think is awesome. So I give you a lot of license to play with that one. You can go to a museum you've been to and see if it's on there. Typically what we find is that it's the permanent collections that have been mapped. Look at that. You can even have the experience of being in a museum gift store and pay $12 for a pencil that's got a bunch of rocks in it, you know? Who says it's not worth anything? So anyway, I just really wanted to show you that one. There's thousands of museums on there across the world that you can go and have kids explore. And again, I think to Nancy's point, I think it was Nancy, but you know, if you have a kid who, like, they're not going to be able to just like figure out how to go there and get there. Here's the link. You know, you copy that link and you put that in Seesaw, and the kid clicks on it and they're in Fort Vancouver. It's not too bad for COVID, right? I mean, I still, honestly, I know it sounds stupid. I still get chills a little bit when I do this because it's like, I don't have a classroom right now of kids, but I really think like if I did, I would think I would make, like, the new Timberland Middle School has floor to ceiling whiteboards on one wall. I think I would actually put 2 short throw projectors, and every day they'd come in and it would just be a 25-foot movie screen of the world, and we would just go places. I just think it would be incredible for kids to just be able to see what's out there. So anyway, I hope that it's exciting to you. I don't know, maybe I'm just nerding out about it, but some of our kids never get to go anywhere. So it was so powerful for them to have that agency to be able to go to a place that they'd never been. A lot of the kids at Raleigh Hills had never been out of Raleigh Hills. You know, they'd never been to downtown Portland. We went to downtown Portland one day. They were blown away. So anyway, comments, thoughts, questions, testimony. Anne's already given her testimony. Testify, Anne. Nailed it.
Yeah, I could get lost in this. And I do have to go. I get to go up to Cooper Mountain, guys, and hand out library books in the rain. So think of me. But thank you very much. I really did. I learned a lot, and just got excited to explore some other things that I hadn't before, so. And I
Great.
might just go to a museum tonight when I get back.
Look at that. Wouldn't that be cool? You could do
Oh.
a Zoom, we could do a Zoom-zeum. You could have a Zoom and we're all getting on the fake bus. Oh, that's a good idea, actually. And
We'll
we're
get
gonna
on the
go,
future bus.
that's right. Let's go on the future bus and go to a virtual museum. I love that
Yeah.
idea.
You can go to North Korea, just FYI.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You just
well,
can't-
you
you just-
can't go street view,
can't,
but you can go all the way down into the city.
You
It's
can
pretty-
go there, but it's hard to get back.
Hmm.
Uh,
I was a little worried about Google knowing I'd been there.
Yeah, no, I think it's yeah, that's a great question though about privacy and pictures. And that was the thing I think that shocked my mom is when we literally found her as if from space the first time. It was a little Big Brother for her. It's a little overwhelming. You couldn't see her face, you know, they blur out everybody's face, but it was just the notion that you could see her car and her getting out of it. That was a little much, so.
Well, gee, I was thinking about some of the fourth grade curriculum and the salmon runs and being able to go down the river, you know, from
Oh.
the little creek down the river out into the ocean and do that whole thing. And we're not going to be able to do the Lewis and Clark stuff, but I bet you could find a bunch of things with Lewis and Clark, and
Oh my gosh.
I think it's
Yeah.
very exciting. So thank you very much. Dee.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was
No,
thinking the
I'm-
same thing in third grade. The third grade curriculum, they study Portland, they go downtown. So this could be a great field trip right on here for them.
Oh, I love that. I think that
Yeah.
you guys just both,
They
yeah,
study Portland every year.
that's a great one. I know that there's a bridges. You study the bridges of Portland.
Oh,
in
yeah,
some
definitely.
Places.
We have a
I
lot
mean,
of bridges. so.
You got a lot of bridges. Yeah, that Lewis and Clark one just made me think too of, I'm just gonna see what it is. I'm curious. There are some places where, and this could be a flop. I'm just gonna see. Yeah, no. There are some places where they've actually street viewed waterways. So I was curious with your Lewis and Clark idea, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, this is a street view of the bridge at Astoria, but there are some waterways, I think maybe the Amazon or something, where they've actually street viewed the river. So you can get on the river and travel. Crazy. By the way, if you ever-